Welcome to Web Handling. My name is Dave Roisum. In this final clip, we summarize what we have learned about bagginess and where we might go next. I sincerely hope that you have enjoyed this series and learned many new tips and techniques for troubleshooting baggy webs. These are just a few of the things that we covered. From our Web 101 class, we learned essentials for web machine mechanicals, controls, and troubleshooting. We also learned what bagginess is, how it can be measured, and troubleshooting techniques that will always be used for these problems. However, the most important takeaway from our Web 101 class is that there are no web handling tricks that will reduce the suffering. The best you can do is to not make the problem worse by poor machine design, or poor maintenance, or poor operation. We also should have learned that if you are the buyer of material that is occasionally baggy, don't make someone else's problem your own. Bagginess is a defect. Reject it. Finally, we should have learned that if we are the maker of the material that is occasionally baggy, don't raise your hand if the boss is looking for someone to be on the baggy web team. The problem is exceedingly difficult, exceedingly demanding, and has a very low success rate, especially if you do not have the background that we cover here. So what happens if someone else raised your hand for you? We don't always have the luxury of picking the problems we work on. Well, all is not lost, especially if we increase the odds by going to school such as Web 101. To this, we need to add graduate school, as we have covered in about 24 Web 201 clips listed here. Finally, we might be inclined to do a literature search. However, as my Web 101 students have learned, searching Google for web handling subjects is usually a wasted effort, even when there is literature on the subject you wish to learn about. A better bet would be to go to the free Roisum library database by Abbott App and search on the term bag. However, in this case, I think you will find very little. In fact, what we have learned in Web 101 and Web 201 is by far the largest collection on the subject of bagginess. A more productive effort might be to ask for help, especially considering the exceedingly difficult and expensive nature of the baggy web problem. You may want to call me if you get stuck. You may want to call me to speed up the troubleshooting process. Finally, even if you think you have it figured out, you might want to add a second set of eyes of someone who has successfully troubleshot scores of baggy web troubles and has the experience of being in nearly 1,000 plants. Together, we may be able to do more than we could separately. Thank you so very much for watching this module in my Plant Practical video series. Stay tuned as we move on to even more advanced web handling topics. Let me know if there is something that you would especially want to hear about.